Hi, I'm Ryan Saplin. I went from making 50K a year to making 50K a month. I did this while I was working as a personal trainer and eventually built my own business. If you're watching this because you want to know how to go from 50K a year to 50K a month or more, I'm just going to tell you right from the beginning of this video. Or if you want to continue watching, I'll tell you more of the story, but just let me tell you what you need to do. You need key skills. I learned key skills that made me really good at what I did and made me understand the moving pieces of a business and I found my spot in it. That's the key thing, is finding out where you're the most valuable and then using that as your biggest lever. So I learned key skills. That's the first thing. Second thing is I put myself in the right environment. Okay. I put myself in the right environment to build relationships with the right people. And in reality is I did build some really good business partners and affiliate partners and team members that really eventually developed my skills. But I'll say, like, meeting other people allows you to see what's possible. And because I was able to see what was possible and I'm around these people for too often, your world expands and you're able to see like 50K a year, 50K a month, well, 50K a day. Right? Those are the kind of people I was around. And I think this is probably the biggest part. It's kind of obvious, but like, it's cultivating courage, right? I mean, a lot of this requires lots of courage. I just don't like going to events and I don't like in-person meetings, generally speaking, especially a bunch of people I don't know. And most of the time, I'm just generally very introverted. I like to do my own thing. Whenever I can possible, I want to figure it out on my own for the most part. But developing the courage to step outside my comfort zone and meet new people and make connections. Because it turns out the thing that ended up being the most valuable thing was the connections that I built. And then I did a lot of boring work, like I read books I didn't want to read, it's very difficult for me to read, but because I knew that if I learned this material, it will allow me to build the life that I want to build. I signed up for courses and masterminds. I remember I got pitched a really expensive 25K a year mastermind. That used to be very expensive to me. I guess it's still expensive now, but like, it used to be very expensive to me. I had no way. I mean, I suppose I could have got a credit card, but I also knew that I could figure it out on my own. And that's not true. I did need help. If I got into the mastermind, I think I might have been further along. I did so many things on my own for years, trying to like do this online marketing stuff, that it wasn't until that I joined something, a cheap mastermind, by the way, that really got me to be like, okay, let's take that next step, right? I gradually started working less at my job, putting more time into my business. Then eventually I learned where to put my time, where my efforts needed to go. And that's pretty much it. And if you want some motivation, there was one phrase that got me, like as I connected with people more and more often, like you just realize, like you meet with these people, you want to sell them something, you want to build a relationship with them. This is more me, so this might not really apply to you, but you realize that all the people that are higher up, multimillionaires, people very wealthy, who have success, like they want to connect with people that are in the same spot of high level, or they want to connect with people who have just incredible energy and vibe that picks them up. And because that mindset made me realize and remember, like, this one phrase for whatever reason is, no one is going to save you. And once I kind of got that in my head, I just learned no one's going to save me. I'm going to save myself. That made the biggest difference in sort of like my thinking, what motivated me the most to get there. Let's talk about a little bit of my story. I think that the thing that got me, what was a key skill that I learned copywriting. I learned about persuasive writing. I thought in the beginning that it was really about me writing a high converting sales letter and learning how to sell through words and make a sales video. And the interesting thing is, like, I can do that, right? I'm actually a pretty terrible salesperson. I don't like selling at all. I absolutely dislike it. I don't know if I hate it, but I don't like selling at all. It's just something I do not like. I mean, for someone who was a salesperson for 17 years as a personal trainer, like, I just did not like doing it. Like, really, I wanted to make the sale once and then I wanted to service. I really sold through my service. I let the results speak for themselves. That's kind of how I was. But the reality is you need both, and the better you are at selling. Like, I think that's one of the things that kind of held me back and still holds me back, is that if I were a better salesperson, and I could be more outgoing and aggressive and more extroverted, that I would make more opportunity, make more revenue. But the reality is I don't want to do that. And I think that I have to go lean into my strengths. And my strengths is really more strategy. It's really more building relationships, despite me not wanting to be as extroverted. It's essentially putting the pieces in the right place and thinking of things in a really big way, right? Seeing the potential in things. Because a lot of times, sometimes just your thinking and your confidence sounds like fake, right? It's more like your thinking and knowing your vision. That's what it is. Your vision for things and knowing what is possible often is kind of the thing that, like, a lot of people don't have. Sometimes people need vision. You can see more in other people, or you can see more of what's possible. Basically, a mild delusion of some kind, right? But don't get me wrong, I was pretty risk averse. So I would plan things and make sure that I have a reasonable downside. But I would say learning copy and then learning how to understand copy and write sales letters was the biggest skill. The thing was, it wasn't that actually made me a lot of money. It was just understanding it because I studied it so hard and I thought that was my ticket. It kind of was my ticket, but it wasn't my ticket in the way that I thought it would be. What it ended up being was the conduit of understanding of the language of sales and marketing. Because I studied so deeply in copywriting and because I really like copy and I like persuasive writing, I also like data. So those are the two skills that I'm able to kind of put together in my brain. I think in general, most people who are doing really well, success in their business and making a lot of money, and they tend to have those, they know how to put those two things together, data and copy. But because I understood the value of it and I really took the time to really learn it, I had a skill that nobody else was willing to learn, right? Or people were just not interested in. People don't understand like how a single sentence can make that dramatic of an impact on the number of sales you make, right? The fact that a subject line could be thousands of dollars in difference, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in difference in some cases. And when you understand that, which is very difficult to sort of ingest in your mind, right? Once you really understand that, then you kind of understand what you're capable of as far as like what's possible. And I would say that was the biggest thing is learning that key skill. In a sense, I got a little bit lucky because there's a saying like luck is when opportunity meets hard work, right? That's what luck is. And prior to learning copy, I had a lot of technical background. Like I was really good with computers. I was good with software. I was really a computer nerd. So it was very easy for me to learn anything on the computer. I wasn't scared of it. Because what I learned too from a lot of other people, it turns out not everybody likes spreadsheets. Like nobody falls in love with a spreadsheet like I do. I feel like I can see the future when I look at the spreadsheet, or I can see the matrix. And turns out that's not something that everybody can do. It's something that is innate in me. So the thing is that other people can do this too. Maybe you can do it. But the thing is that the reason why you're not able to maybe get to that next level is because you don't have that big lever of thinking that allows you to get there. The person that can see like what's possible, right? It's kind of like, see a house has a fixed up value, maybe 800K. The whole idea is being able to see where the margin is. One thing I did, like a lot of time, if I ever do consulting, and I don't do a lot of consulting, is because I want to work on my own things. But if I do consulting, it's going to be for a lot of money. And often what happens is really like making sure that I make a good promise. Like if you're doing 3 and I take you to 10, will you pay me 1? Right? And I think a big part of that is it sounds like I have a lot of balls, and I think a lot of people are afraid to even say something like that. But like because I know numbers and I love numbers, I look at spreadsheets and I see what's possible, I can see, we can do this if we do these things. I guess there's another thing. Like it just depends on your experience a lot of the time. That's kind of why it's important to be in the right room with the right people that can essentially guide. They don't even necessarily have to be a mentor or guide you. You just got to be around these people. A lot of the time, seeing what's possible is enough for your brain to shift to really make a significant change in the way you think is possible for you, right? Some people see numbers and spreadsheets and they can see how they can do a great job for someone, whereas another person will look at the spreadsheet and they'll be like, I see $10 million here, right? And that's only possible if you have the experience or you're around people that have that experience. So I will say I'm not the type of person that's super positive minded, right? I'm really more of the type of person that is very pragmatic, very practical. That's kind of what makes me a bad salesperson a lot of the time. It's because I kind of argue against my case. A lot of times, like maybe you shouldn't sign up for personal training. Maybe you shouldn't get me. Maybe you should hire somebody else. Maybe it's a little bit of a strategy tactic. It's not really, because I think what I do a lot of the time when I try to sell and I have an opportunity to work with somebody, I create a boundary, right? This is what I'm going to do for you. And this is what I'm willing to do. And that's all I really think about, like, okay. And then if you're okay with me getting you to this result by doing these things in this way, then we can do business. Anyways, I think it's the end of this video.